Good evening, guys, and happy Saturday to all of your sunshiny faces, guys. I need to get to bed. Something awful. I am exhausted. I was up at 8 o'clock, I think, this morning to get ready to go to the party today that I told you guys we were hosting at my aunt's house. So it was just because I think I've been telling you guys, like, our house is too small. The dogs would be barking the entire time of the party. It just would most likely not end up working out very well at our house, and especially for a larger holiday where it's going to be indoors, like Christmas or like a Thanksgiving or something like that. It just would not work well for us. So we offered to host it, but check to see if we could do it maybe at my aunt's house. So it ended up working out. We ended up going there about 2 hours early so that we could cook and sort of just prepare everything, and we finished like just in time. Well, not exactly. We probably at least had 20 to like 15 minutes or so of like downtime right before my other aunt ended up showing up, and then slowly everybody started coming after that. But like, between all of our baking and everything like that, ended up working out. And guys, I told you how yesterday too we were going over the list like 8 times to make sure we didn't forget anything, because like my mom was saying too, even though we were hosting a party at somebody else's house, we had to bring all the food and all of that kind of stuff. It wasn't completely like we were hosting it at like like a park district building, or like something like that, like renting space for something. It was my aunt's house. She still had an oven and a again, all that kind of stuff, serving things and all that, and like sandwich bags and plastic wrap and all those kind of things. But the one thing, we remembered everything. I told you guys how I was like, oh my goodness, I hope we don't forget anything. Like, we had everything all prepared and all out and everything. And actually, that's what made it easy. Well, like when we got to her house, then we were just able to be like, okay, this goes in this crock pot. We just dump this in here. Okay, this is the stuff to make this bread. Because I told you guys we were doing appetizers. So we ended up, we just kind of rock and rolled and were able to get all this stuff done, because it was all separated and out and pre-measured and all that kind of stuff. We didn't have to bring like, okay, bring sticks of butter, and we have to measure out the butter, and we had to do all this and that. It's like everything that we were doing, again, we already had ready pretty much. The only thing I ended up forgetting, which we actually didn't plan, was we probably should have brought more like serving spoons and a ladle, because we ended up doing punch and hot chocolate, and so my aunt only had one ladle, so we had to use like just a measuring cup for the punch, which worked out fine. But that too, and then my aunt had like larger, like I don't think they were, I think maybe they were tablespoons, but like larger spoons for like, again, dip and, all that kind of stuff. But we have like larger, like more serving spoons. And so we had 2 of those, which we probably could have brought for like some of the things that would have maybe made it a little bit easier. But again, everything ended up working out. We ended up, my mom, I guess, sort of had planned 2 party games. We only ended up really doing one of them. And then we also ended up like doing all the desserts too and everything like that. So I did take pictures when we ended up once we had everything all set out and everything, and kind of that downtime, like I said, in between when we just finished and when we were waiting for everybody to start showing up. I did wind up taking a handful of pictures from today as well of all of our Christmas. My aunt had like Christmas tree out, and she had some decorations and things like that. And then there was snow out on the ground too, guys. And then we also, like I said, we had all of our food. So we ended up doing, again, the punch. We ended up doing the reindeer root beers. We ended up doing the hot chocolates. We ended up doing what else did we end up doing? All the different like foods. We ended up doing a charcuterie board. We ended up doing all of our different dips. We did spinach dip, the Velveeta Rotel dip. We ended up doing mini hot dogs. We ended up doing meatballs. My mom also made her little mini olive penguins. We had again, the different cheeses and crackers and all that kind of stuff. Jack laid out a beautiful veggie tray. My mom just gave him the veggies and said, here, lay this out in a nice, like, on the tray real nice. And he ended up doing a very good job of sort of laying everything out. And then we also ended up having dessert as well. We ended up doing cookies and again, all of the stuff I showed you guys that we've been making, the pretzels, the chocolate covered pretzels, the like Rolo treats, like the cinnamon pecans, and also to the trying to think, there was a couple other things. Again, we ended up doing the fudge, so we had all that laid out. My aunt ended up also bringing a pie as well, so like I said, I think that's kind of everything. I did wind up taking actually a lot of pictures, and the thing is, I actually did bring my camera with me because my mom wanted to take a big group family picture, so she asked if I could bring my tripod and my camera, which I did wind up bringing. However, I did not end up we didn't end up getting to take a picture because like by the time everybody showed up, there was only about an hour or so between when my last aunt ended up coming and then my other aunt, who was the first one that came. She had to leave early because she had to go somewhere, so there was only about an hour, and that was actually while we were sort of doing like gifts and everything like that. So we didn't actually have time to really get a full family picture, and my cousin's husband also was not there either, so I guess everybody wasn't there completely to take the whole family group picture. And then like I said too, then my one aunt who wasn't there at the beginning, and then my other aunt who had to leave, we didn't really have a good time again to be able to actually take the picture. So, and I didn't end up recording. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, I brought my camera, I probably could have just like, you know, recorded and shared with you guys sort of what we ended up you know, having and set out and everything like that. So it's been a long day, guys. I am tired, I am pooped. I ended up finishing making my grocery list so that we can go to Jewel and Walmart and everything like that for tomorrow, because that will probably be the last time that we wind up going before next week, because that's Christmas. So again, we you know, kind of have to get most of the stuff that we think we're probably going to need for Christmas. So overall, it was a really fun party. My mom also made those little party favors too, I showed you guys, those little candle-less sort of snowmen, and you know, I was also all dressed up too. I wore my big poncho, and which was not very useful for cooking in. It was a little all over the place, and I also had my Christmas socks on too. I was wearing those, so I remembered because I found them in my sock drawer and was like, oh my goodness, I have to remember to wear these for Christmas. So I did wind up remembering that. I was all decked out, like I said, in all of my Christmas, sort of my red Christmas attire, like I said, my poncho, and then my socks too. So anyways though, guys, we are doing something a little bit different for Christmas this year. We did our family party, we celebrated today. Like I said, everything ended up going real well, and you know, again, we ended up getting everything back home and put away and all that kind of stuff. But next weekend for Christmas Day, and you know, again, our, you know, immediate family, we are actually going to be celebrating Christmas on Christmas Eve. So we are going to be celebrating Christmas Eve on the day before Christmas Eve, so Christmas Eve's Eve, because my mom has to work. So her job, she only works weekends, so she's only part-time anyway. She ends up you know, she has to work on, you know, holidays if they fall, you know, on, again, the weekends. So she has to work on Christmas Eve, which, like I said, we are celebrating Christmas Day. So we're going to do Christmas Eve like we normally do on the day before, on the 23rd, and we are going to wind up doing our normal, we normally wind up getting Boston Market. Now the problem is that the last couple of years they have not had the pre-order, so it's been kind of a first come first serve kind of thing for Christmas Eve. But if we are doing it on Christmas Eve's Eve on the 23rd, then we don't really have too much of a problem that we're going to have to deal with. So that is going to be on Friday that we are doing Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day, we are going to wind up, you know, or on Christmas Eve, the 24th, we're going to wind up waking up, doing all of our Christmas presents, opening them up and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, we'll do Christmas breakfast, all that kind of stuff. Then normally we wind up doing appetizers for Christmas Day, which again will be on Christmas Eve actually this year. And so we are going to actually pretty much wind up making the same stuff we made today. So we're going to wind up doing like the dips and everything, because like with the Velveeta, I ended up buying a 2-pound loaf of the Velveeta, and then ended up adding the Rotel, and so that's what we did for the dip today, which was perfect. Everything everything to fit in our perfect little slow cooker. I showed you guys that little slow cooker that we got at Aldi on clearance last summer. And so it actually fit perfectly in there, and like all the dips and everything like that too, our spinach artichoke dip. So everything worked out really well. But I have another half of the Velveeta. So I was like, since we normally, our Christmas tradition is always to do appetizers anyway, which is kind of why we brought that to our tradition today when we were doing our family party. With, like I said, all of my aunts and uncles and cousins and everything. So that's normally our actual Christmas Day tradition, is after, you know, everybody winds up opening up their presents and, you know, everybody's putting things together, playing with their things, doing whatever, you know. We normally just wind up doing, we don't do like a big sit down Christmas Day dinner or, you know, anything like that. Normally our big meal is on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day we just wind up doing appetizers because people pick at stuff as they're hungry. Some people are completely full from breakfast, so that's why Christmas Day we normally wind up doing appetizers. So since, like I said, I have like a half of a loaf of, you know, the Velveeta left that I'm gonna have to come up with some type of use for. I still have like cheese that we ended up buying that we have leftovers for. I've got crackers that we have that are left over, that, you know, most likely will not be stale within, again, a couple days. We can, you know, keep that stuff fresh. So there's a lot of stuff that I just had leftovers for from what we ended up doing today. So for the most part, we're gonna pretty much wind up doing the same stuff that we wound up doing today, next Saturday. So a week from today is when we were celebrating our actual Christmas, because then on the 24th, like I said, that's Christmas Eve, but when we're celebrating Christmas Day, my mom then, by the afternoon, she'll have to take her nap before she goes on to her night shift on Christmas Eve night. So then she will wind up actually working through to Christmas Day, which she actually, I think, goes to work at like 11:30 is when her shift starts or something like that. So she'll be working slightly on Christmas Eve, but again, she has to take her nap normally before, and especially too if we're getting up early for like Christmas Day, which, like I said, is on Christmas Eve. We're gonna wind up having to, you know, she'll have to take her nap, and then we'll wind up going to work again about, you know, her work hours, and then come home on what is actually Christmas morning. But for us, it will just be the day after Christmas. So you know, and then she'll have to work again though on Christmas Day night, into what is then Monday, you know, the day after Christmas, which is the 26th. So like I said, we just have to switch things up a little bit. My dad actually has the entire week after Christmas off, so nothing is affected really. The only thing is that my dad does have to work on Christmas Eve for us, which is the 23rd. So that's the only thing that's a little bit different. But when I was little, my dad used to have to actually work on Christmas Eve anyway for most of the time when I remember. It wasn't until, and like even too, sometimes in recent years, he would be like, oh, I have to go in and like do XYZ thing, you know, like it normally wasn't like a full day of work, but he used to sometimes still have to like go and do things just so that they could get whatever they had to finish finished. So, you know, if he did wind up having to do a few hours of work on Christmas Eve, sometimes he still would, but sometimes it was so early in the morning he'd still be home by like 10 o'clock, you know, so it was like you didn't sometimes even notice he was gone for like, you know, work or whatever. So anyways though, my dad does have to work though on, again, the 23rd, which is when we're celebrating Christmas Eve, so that's the only slight difference. But for everything else, it's kind of like, you know, nothing's really going to change for us. One of my aunts that was actually the first one that ended up showing up to my other aunt's house today for the party, she used to have Christmas Day, she would have like a party, and so that was like back a long time ago when I was little, and so like we don't even do like that kind of stuff anymore, you know, because she ended up moving out of the house that she used to like have that she would host it at, and so that's why there's really nobody like that we wind up celebrating with that actually celebrates like, oh, we do this every year on Christmas Day, or we do this. For us, we could, you know, decide, oh, we want to do it, you know, the first week of January, we want to celebrate Christmas. We could, because it really would not have any effect on us at all. The only thing is that like with, like I said, the good thing is kind of that we are going to be able to get to the Boston market without having to worry about like the pre-orders and, you know, like I said, the first come first serve kind of thing. And the Boston market's weird. We used to not, like, that wasn't a thing up until I was in maybe middle school or high school. We randomly started doing that. But now it's become a weird Christmas Eve tradition that we just wind up doing. Sometimes we will wind up actually cooking food for Christmas Eve, but since we ended up doing so much for the Christmas party this year, and like I said too, we're going to be doing pretty much the same stuff for Christmas Day, we're like, we're just gonna get Boston Market because it'll be simple and easy and we don't have to worry about any of that. So as far as like extra food, like I'm not getting a ham or like anything like that for Christmas. Again, that's really all we're doing. So in essence, we're kind of saving money because we're just getting sort of like takeout for Christmas Eve, and then everything else for the most part, again, I have a couple little things that I have to get from Aldi, as far as like stuff that we don't have entirely that we kind of have to replenish, that like I said are appetizers we'll do on Christmas Day, but other than that we're really not doing too much. But that is sort of, like I said, a little bit of the change that we are going to be having this year because of, like I said, my mom's work, and sort of the same thing too with New Year's. I think the same thing, New Year's Eve is on Saturday, so we're not doing like a fake countdown or anything like that, but we're gonna probably wind up celebrating more of like I think New Year's Eve, like, you know, and do like a lot of our New Year's Eve sort of traditions either earlier in the day because it'll be on Saturday, or kind of like on Friday night. We'll probably wind up doing, like we normally do board games and like food and stuff like that. We'll probably wind up doing that on Friday and kind of just do that as more of the party, but then on actual New Year's Eve actually do like our countdown, you know, normal actual watching, you know, that kind of stuff, which we used to always do Christmas or New Year's Eve at with my grandma. We used to just go over to her house, like when me and Matthew were little, and she used to live in her condo. We used to go over there, and there's a vlog too where she kept that tradition when she ended up moving into her assisted living later on, and so like, but my grandma used to always throw her New Year's Eve sort of party, but it was always just for us grandkids. So my parents never really ended up like throwing like or doing anything super special for New Year's Eve, and then we sort of kind of adopted some of my grandma's traditions and just started turning it into more of like a game night kind of thing. So we're gonna just do that more on Friday. So again, none of this stuff really entirely winds up affecting like what happens, just because again my mom has to work. Other than it's not going to be on the actual 25th that we're celebrating Christmas, you know, or again on, you know, Christmas Eve that or New Year's Eve that we're sort of doing our New Year's Eve traditions. It's just, we actually count down to the new year. It's going to have to be, but my mom will be at work half an hour into her shift on New Year's Day. So anyways, though, yeah guys, like I said, that is, we had fun today at our Christmas party, and that is a little bit of the change that is going to be happening on for actual Christmas and New Year's this year. But again, it's nothing that drastically affects us. The only other thing too is shipping, like for, you know, packages and shopping and stuff like that. We just need to be done a day early. You know, make sure that we have all of our gifts and they're all wrapped and everything like that. So we're actually shortening our days of Christmas. Instead of 25, we're going down to 24. So our advent calendars too, because I was telling you guys that our chocolate advent calendars, they only go up to 24 days. For us, it will be on actual Christmas that we get our 24th day of advent calendar. The dogs though is 25 days, so they will get theirs on actual Christmas Day. I could have started theirs a day early though, but anyways, that reminds me I have to get their cookies because I actually forgot, and Bliss today was reminding me that she needed a cookie. She's been whining about it, and normally that's Charlie's thing now that he has started doing. And so, but today for some reason Bliss was whining and she wanted to remind me that we needed to get cookies. So Charlie slipped right through me saying that word now 3 times, which I'm kind of surprised about, but he is tuckered out because I think he missed us while we were gone for a long time today. We were gone from, like I said, 2 hours before the party started to cleaning up afterwards and sticking around to make sure all that was also taken care of. So anyways guys, I will see you all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and we'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.